Good Tuesday afternoon. Thanks for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Rena Sargentopoulos. Let's get right to your headlines. New today, National Public Radio is taking on the White House. This morning, the network filed a First Amendment lawsuit against the Trump administration. The suit alleges President Donald Trump's attempt to defund NPR is a, quote, clear violation of the Constitution. Earlier this month, Trump accused NPR and PBS, its television counterpart, of bias. His executive order called for the Corporation of Public Broadcasting to stop funding the two entities. The CPB is a private nonprofit that was created to be free of White House interference. It filed a separate lawsuit against President Trump for his efforts to fire some of its board members. PBS says it is preparing to take legal action against the administration, but has yet to file suit. Right now, the Trump administration is weighing new sanctions against Russia after more deadly Russian assaults on Ukraine over the weekend. The attacks killing at least a dozen people. According to a Trump administration official, the sanctions are drawn up and would be against Russia's banking sector and whoever buys Russian energy products. However, some sources close to Trump say the sanctions are not a given, as they could turn Russia away from ongoing peace talks. Today, state lawmakers are getting back to work on several major bills ahead of a special session. Last week, members of the House and Senate met to discuss the details of their bills, which were left unfinished at the end of the legislative session. But Governor Walz has said he will not call that special session until all their work is finalized. He says he's confident the session will be called before Sunday, which is when preparations for a partial state government shutdown would begin. Right now, all of the evacuation zones around the large wildfires burning in northern Minnesota are now reopened. That update coming over the weekend from crews battling the Camp House and Jenkins Creek fires. Investigators say the Jenkins Creek fire was started by humans. However, the cause of the Camp House fire is still being investigated. Developing right now, more than 24 people are in the hospital after a vehicle slammed into a massive crowd of people during a parade celebrating a soccer club's win. Right now, British police are holding a 53-year-old man in custody for the crash that did also injure several children. One major question: how did he get on the parade route in the first place? NBC's Ralph Sanchez reports from Liverpool.
Just yesterday, this was the scene of a joyful championship parade as fans of Liverpool Soccer Club celebrated their team's victory in the English Premier League. Today, it is a major crime scene. Police are investigating how a dark minivan came crashing into the crowd here, injuring nearly 50 people, including several children. One of those kids trapped underneath the van when firefighters arrived. They had to pull that small child out from underneath. Police have arrested the driver of the minivan. They are saying he is a 53-year-old white man from the Liverpool area. Authorities are saying they are not treating this as an act of terrorism, and they believe that this was an isolated incident. They are not seeking anyone else at this time, but they aren't saying at this point what the potential motivation is here. So a lot of questions remain unanswered, including how this van was able to access the parade route. The team anthem of Liverpool is "You'll Never Walk Alone," and I can tell you there is a real feeling in this city that people are supporting each other at this time of tragedy. Ralph Sanchez, NBC News, Liverpool.
New today, the COVID-19 vaccine is no longer being recommended for healthy pregnant women and healthy children on the CDC's immunization schedule. U.S. Health and Human Services Robert F. Kennedy Jr., U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. announced that the change would happen on Tuesday on social media. Right now, the COVID-19 vaccine policy is undergoing several changes. Last week, the FDA said it is overhauling how it approves COVID-19 vaccines, a move that could impact the availability of future shots. The Walter Cup is staying where it belongs. The Minnesota Frost taking down the Ottawa Charge in St. Paul for the title on Monday night in an overtime thriller. All 4 games in this series were decided by 2-1 scores, and each one in overtime. The team announcing you can come celebrate with them tomorrow night at the X from 6 to 8. There will be a live DJ, interactive games, and of course you can take pictures with the Walter Cup. Now, in that winning game, the team scored against Ottawa with a shot 12 minutes into overtime, winning their 3rd game of the series 2-1. The stands at the X were electric as 11,000 fans cheered them on. Raya Katene spoke with some of them.
Yeah, Frost!
Let's go, Frost!
On a picture-perfect spring day,
Go Frost!
the Minnesota Frost and their fans are bringing a purple and white chill to the XL Energy Center.
It's cold in here. There must be some frost in the atmosphere.
Now back-to-back champions, the Frost are making history. But winning isn't only reflected on a scoreboard. As they secure another championship, the team is also winning over the hearts of their youngest fans.
Oh, how close that was!
And inspiring them along the way.
I'm a goalie for our team, and I feel like Maddie Rooney and Nicole Hensley really inspire me to keep going, keep trying when everything is not doing the best.
It's very nerve-wracking to be on the ice, so I'm surprised they can do this.
These girls are very strong. Even if they're losing, they would always push through. So I feel like that's inspired me.
Sawyer, Piper, and Spencer are three of the more than 11,000 fans cheering on the Frost and celebrating the momentum of women's sports, remembering the Frost's first championship win.
I was watching it on TV, and it was crazy. I was screaming. I was so happy.
Now Walter Cup champions for the second season in a row. The celebration continues as a younger generation witnesses history in the making.
A different story for the Wolves, now trailing 3-1 in the Western Conference Finals after a heartbreaker at Target Center. Now on the brink of elimination as they head into Game 5 tomorrow night in OKC. But in the world of professional basketball, luck shows up in unexpected ways, whether it is a perfect pass, a good bounce, or sometimes an orange bracelet. Fans have noticed Anthony Edwards doesn't take his off. It is a promise he made to a 6-year-old boy. Morgan Wolf has the story.
Like most 6-year-olds, Luca Wright loves basketball. It's brought him joy, even on the darkest days.
What were you in the hospital for?
But unlike most 6-year-olds,
I was sick.
Luca is fighting for his life.
They told me over the phone, they're like, his labs are a little bit concerning. There's a chance that he could have leukemia. And at that point, I was just like, what are you talking? There's no way.
The Michigan family was growing. Mom Lacey was pregnant with their third child, now having to drive her firstborn to weekly cancer treatments.
He had lost all his hair. He was weak. He was immunocompromised. We couldn't see people. We couldn't do anything. He didn't want to do anything. He felt terrible.
I was diagnosed with cancer when I was 5.
That's why 5 is Luca's favorite number, similar to his favorite basketball players.
You will be courtside.
In January, he was surprised by a content creator with tickets to the Wolves game in Detroit. The Wolves were struggling. Even their star was Anthony Edwards. But then came a 6-year-old and his wristband.
How did it make you feel?
Happy.
You got something for me?
Luca met Ant and gave him the bracelet that says "Love like Luca," and it's a sunny day. Shortly afterwards, the Timberwolves started playing better.
Maybe it did impact them in a special way as well. Even in maybe the hardest or worst times, there's still plenty of reason to be happy.
Luca then saw Ant at the All-Star weekend.
I wear the wristband. We both love number 5.
From a boy's courage to a team's comeback, sometimes the biggest inspiration comes from the smallest hands.
A reminder, we can do hard things, gotta keep going and try to be better.
It's so sweet. Well, this week, Southwest Airlines' longtime slogan of bags fly free is expiring. Starting with bookings made on Wednesday, the carrier will charge passengers for checked luggage. One piece will cost you $35 with a charge of $45 for a second suitcase. Southwest passengers didn't pay for 2 checked bags in 2024, but the Department of Transportation said the airline still earned $83 million in baggage fees due to heavy packers who needed at least 3 pieces of luggage. Certain travelers will not have to pay for checked luggage, of course, including A-list tier flyers and business fare flyers. Delta flight at MSP Airport. That is a pigeon you just saw there. Somehow got on the plane that was heading for Madison on Saturday, caused a delay in takeoff. Then, as they were taxiing back to the runway, another pigeon appeared. Both were captured by the flight attendants, super brave, and then let go outside. The plane eventually did get to Madison. It was about an hour late. Can you even imagine? Stick with us. More news and weather coming up after the break.